Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a look back at a truly heartbreaking loss for the entertainment world, but we're also celebrating an incredibly rich life. We're talking about the legacy of film and TV icon Vincent Pastore. Now, if you've ever watched a crime drama, you know his face, his voice. That sheer presence he brought to the screen is just unmistakable. But here's the thing, the actual man behind all those legendary tough guy roles, he was infinitely more complex and honestly, so much warmer than the characters he played. So let's dive right in and break down a real-life journey that's honestly even more fascinating than the scripts he brought to life.
There's this quote that just perfectly captures that contrast. It's from Robert Adaman, who was Pastore's manager for over 30 years, and his words really anchor our whole look at Pastore's life today. He said, "To those of us who knew him, he was so much more, right? To the public, sure, he was the quintessential mobster, but to the people in his inner circle, he was just this incredibly kind soul." Adaman represented him way before he became a household name across the globe, and it paints this vivid picture of a guy who simply never let the Hollywood machine change his fundamental nature.
Pastore was 80 years old when he passed away. Friends actually discovered him at his home on City Island up in the Bronx around August 1st. And while the exact cause of death is still pending, authorities did confirm there was no foul play suspected. You know, the news came as a massive shock to so many of us, but when you really step back and look at it, at 80, Pastore lived a life most people literally only dream of. It was deeply, authentically rooted in New York and packed with just an unbelievable amount of passion and hard work.
Okay, let's dive into this massive cultural footprint he left behind. 40. That's the number of years this man dedicated to his craft. 40 years. A sprawling, relentless career that spanned nearly 4 decades. You know, when we think about Hollywood, we always picture these overnight successes. And we kind of forget the absolute grinders, the true character actors who show up, do the work, and build their legacies scene by scene, year after year. Pastore had dozens upon dozens of TV and movie appearances. He definitely didn't just stumble into his most famous role. He built an absolute fortress of a resume through pure dedication to get there.
Just take a look at some of these career highlights. I mean, we are talking about the absolute pantheon of modern cinema here, especially in the crime genre. Goodfellas, Carlito's Way, Gotti, plus he showed this immense range in dramatic classics like Awakenings. Pastore really cemented himself as a familiar face. You'd see him pop up on screen and instantly know, okay, the stakes of this scene just went way up. These legendary films laid all the critical groundwork. They proved, without a doubt, that he had the gravitas, the look, and the sheer talent to handle the genre's heaviest hitters.
And all of that incredible groundwork, it paved the way for over 30 episodes on HBO's The Sopranos, where he played Salvatore Big Pussy Bonpensiero. This is where he created one of television's most unforgettable characters. He completely captivated viewers, mostly because his character arc was just so tragically compelling. He didn't just play some one-dimensional thug, right? He transitioned from Tony Soprano's fiercely loyal soldier to this intensely conflicted FBI informant, and as fans know all too well, he paid the ultimate price for it. The emotional weight he brought to that portrayal and the sheer terror of his final moments on the show, they are permanently etched into television history.
Let's move along and see how this all builds, because if you think he was just some guy who looked the part and walked onto a set, you'd be entirely wrong. His background is surprisingly eclectic. He actually joined the United States Navy, serving for 3 years during the Vietnam War era. And following this service, he didn't immediately jump into mob movies either. He went to Pace University and earned a drama degree. So we're talking about an educated, trained, and highly disciplined actor who lived a very real, very demanding life long before the cameras ever started rolling or the fame arrived. His journey is what I like to call a true only in New York success story. Born in the Bronx, raised in New Rochelle, he had that authentic local energy practically pulsing through his veins. But get this, surprising pivot to the stage. He actually made his Broadway debut in the long-running revival of the smash hit musical Chicago. He also played the mobster Nick Valenti in Woody Allen's musical Bullets Over Broadway. He had this undeniable theatrality to him. He could command a massive Broadway stage just as easily as he could a gritty, intimate film set.
So the crucial point is this incredible duality that makes his life so fascinating. On the one hand, you've got the on-screen persona, right? The loyal soldier, the tough guy, the tragic FBI informant. But on the other hand, you have the off-screen reality, described by those closest to him as literally the kindest person, incredibly generous, and someone who would absolutely never turn down a fan for an autograph or a quick photo.
He was heavily typecast, sure, because he was just so good at playing dangerous men. But his profound real-life reality was that he was one of the most giving, approachable people you could ever hope to meet.
And that profound kindness really makes the grief felt by his team so palpable. His co-manager, Bob McGowan, summed it up in one simple, powerful word: heartbreaking. Both McGowan and Adaman were quick to emphasize that Pastore treated absolutely everyone with warmth and respect. Now think about that. When you work in an entertainment industry that's famous for its massive egos, having a reputation as a guy who is universally loved and respected by his team for over 3 decades, that speaks volumes about your true character.
Actually, I want to share this wonderfully vivid, humanizing little anecdote that came from a local reporter during the news coverage of his passing. So Pastore was a massive fan of WFUV 90.7 FM, which is the radio station over at Fordham University. And this reporter remembered seeing this major TV star literally just showing up in person to support the local radio station's member drives. I mean, imagine walking into a local college radio fundraiser and just bumping into a star from The Sopranos, hanging out, supporting the community. He was a genuine local legend who never, ever lost touch with his roots.
As we respectfully acknowledge this immense loss today, we of course keep his surviving family in our minds. He's survived by his daughter, Renee Pastore, and his ex-wife, Nancy Burke. It's a sobering reminder that while the public mourns the loss of a deeply beloved character actor, they are mourning a father and a family member. It really grounds us, reminding us of the actual human being behind those iconic characters that have entertained us for so many years.
Which leaves us with this final thought for you to ponder. How will you remember the legacy of an actor who defined a genre but absolutely refused to be defined by it in his real life? Vincent Pastore brought an undeniable authenticity to the screen that helped shape modern crime drama, yet he walked through the world with a kindness and generosity that completely defied his tough guy image. It's a beautifully complex, only in New York life that is absolutely worth reflecting on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really encourage you to take a moment today to appreciate the incredible dual legacy of Vincent Pastore.